Imagine you are playing a cricket match on a Sunday with all your friends. You go home and on Monday, police officials knock on your door and the next thing you know is that you and your friends are in jail without a trial. This might sound fictional, but a similar incident occurred in Kashmir in 2020 when 10 men were arrested for playing cricket in memory of a slain militant. These 10 men were arrested under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act or the UAPA. Such is the bizarre nature of the UAPA. We live in a legal system that promotes the idea of innocent until proven guilty. But as one Supreme Court observation notes that under UAPA, jail is the rule while bail is only an exception. Well, this Supreme Court observation holds some significance if you see the examples of Saibaba, Siddique, Kappan and others, which we will talk about today. In this episode of Spotlight, we look at UAPA and how the Draconian Laws Amendment in 2019 has pushed India's criminal justice system on the brink. Hello and welcome to The Wire. My name is Zeeshan Kaskar. So would you trust government officials and politicians with the power to decide whether someone is a terrorist without that person being prosecuted and tried and convicted? Well, the Narendra Modi government has given itself the power, and what's worse, there is absolutely no discussion about it. This draconian law keeps having its impact in the back as our lives go on as normal. To understand how bad the UAPA amendment of 2019 is, let's get back in time. Did you know, even in 2024, India's criminal justice system is based on a set of colonial British laws decided in 1860. Even the UAPA has its traces in the colonial history. One of the most important lineages of the UAPA is the Anarchical and Revolutionary Crimes Act or the Rowlatt Act of 1919 that were passed by the Imperial Legislative Council. These ordinances and bills authorize the arrest and detention of those suspected of revolutionary and radical politics. To have these laws under colonial rule still gives room for logic, but to have them under a democratic rule simply doesn't sit well with the values of any of the modern democracies. The UAPA was passed since 1967. Over time, one can see that the UAPA did not become a law against people who perform terrorist activities. Rather, the purview of the idea of a quote-unquote terrorist broadened to accommodate any dissenting voice. The successive amendments in UAPA proved this point. The first amendment in 2004 was a major one. When back in power, the Congress struck down the Prevention of Terrorism Act, which was the POTA, due to its alleged misuse. It included the definition of terrorist act and terrorist organization from the repealed POTA and also introduced the concept of a quote-unquote terrorist gang. It was seen that many provisions from POTA were directly duplicated in the UAPA amendment of 2004. Then came another amendment in 2008 after the 26/11 Mumbai attacks. The 2008 amendment broadened the definition of the term terrorist act. Under section 43A, they could arrest anyone unless there was proper evidence to prove otherwise. It empowered police to arrest someone for 180 days without a charge sheet. After 2012, the UAPA got a big update. Now, the top cop at NIA could see stuff bought with the alleged terrorist money. They also expanded what counts as a terrorist act to include offences that threaten the country's economic security. But the real nail in the coffin was hit in 2019 when the Bharatiya Janata Party government amended the UAPA. Through this amendment, the government expanded the definition of who counts as a terrorist, letting the government label people and not just groups. So, after the 2019 amendment, an individual can be called a terrorist. This had never happened in independent India before. The EPW magazine in an article said that UAPA started out as a law to fight terrorism. But over time, it kind of merged with laws like sedition, which deals with actions against the government, to become more about suppressing dissent. I think that's one of the reasons why the number of sedition cases has gone down in the country, because all those cases have been diverted or are being rather registered under the UAPA. The Supreme Court's observation about UAPA that I mentioned a while ago was made by a bench of Justices M.M. Sundaresh and Arvind Kumar. While denying bail to Gurvinder Singh, an alleged Sikh separatist, court said that, and I quote, "The form of the words used in provision section 43D shall not be released, in contrast with the form of the words as found in section 437 of the CRPC, which is may be released, suggests the intention of the legislature to make bail the exception and jail the rule." We can see scores of examples only in the past 5 years of how the state has empowered the police to use the UAPA on any dissenting voice. The example of Umar Khalid is the most known one. Let's focus on this case for a bit. Umar Khalid is charged under the UAPA allegedly for hatching a conspiracy to cause Delhi riots. And according to the police, how did Umar Khalid exactly do that? By giving a speech thousands of kilometers away from Delhi in Maharashtra's Amravati, weeks before the Delhi riots actually happened. The video of the speech always remained online, but the police registered an FIR only after BJP IT cell head Amit Malviya posted an edited version of Umar Khalid's speech on Twitter. Umar's lawyer in the Sessions Court, Siddique, argued that even the edited version of the speech did not have any inflammatory language. In fact, he produced the entire speech in the court and said that this is the best evidence against Khalid, and he himself is presenting it in the court. It has been almost 4 years now. Khalid continues to be in jail after many unsuccessful bail pleas. Such is the story of so many others who are languishing in jails. According to data presented by the Home Ministry in the Rajya Sabha, in response to a question in July 2022, there are more than 24,000 cases registered under the UAPA. Staggeringly, 97% of those cases are still under trial and the accused are in jails. These numbers, which are from 2016 to 2020, reveal that just 212 of the 24,134 people were convicted, while 386 people were accused under the UAPA have been acquitted. The case of Siddique Kappan is striking too. The journalist from Kerala was on his way to UP's Hathras to report on the alleged cover-up of the rape and murder of a Dalit girl. The entire media was present there, but Kappan was stopped midway by the police and booked under the UAPA. It took about 3 years for Kappan to secure bail. If you look at the Delhi riots case as a case study, over 750 FIRs have been filed in connection with the riots. However, FIR number 59 has garnered significant attention, as it alleges the riot was pre-planned and fueled by a protest against the Citizenship Amendment Act, creating a charged atmosphere. Now, police has invoked the UAPA alongside sections of the IPC to address unlawful activities threatening India's sovereignty. Umar Khalid alongside Natasha Narwal, Devangana Kalita, Ishrat Jahan, Miran Haider, Safura Zargar and others are booked in this case. Well, there's an update that Ishrat Jahan has been provided bail. Moving on, in most cases, courts have found identification by police witnesses to be unreliable due to the unaccounted delay in the naming and identifying of assailants. For example, in cases such as Devangana Kalita versus State of NCT of Delhi, the Delhi High Court highlighted that a delay of over 2 months by witnesses in naming the accused, despite their presence since December 19, raised doubts about the credibility of their testimony. Similar observations were made in cases like State vs. Khalid Saifi and State vs. Umar Khalid. Some allegations by the police simply seemed implausible, like the one where they had accused an imam of burning down a mosque, where the Delhi High Court pointed out the absurdity of the accused person causing communal riots by killing persons of their own community. The special court, while hearing a UAPA case in Delhi riots, said that, and I quote, "Upon a closer scrutiny of the submissions made on behalf of the state, we find that the submissions are based upon inferences drawn by the prosecuting agency and not upon factual allegations." GN Saibaba, who was granted bail recently in an alleged Maoist link case, addressed the media on his time in jail. Listen in to what he had to say.
If I am teaching in Delhi University today, or I was teaching 10 years ago, till 10 years ago, it was my mother's dream. Who is an illiterate village poor. Today, you can see, and as a human rights activist, I could see all women across the country, the poorest of the poor, Adivasi women, Dalit women, they only desire only one thing: my child should get education. We will not get land, we will not get anything, we know, but we want our child to get education. It was the same dream my mother had. Was there any necessity that I never deserved to serve my mother at the last days? She died because of only one thing. Because I was implicated in this case and incarcerated without any facts. And she asked and asked till the last moment. She asked that she wanted to see me. That's the only desire she had. See, the state is there to serve the people. The state should not be there to punish the people and crush the humanity. Humanity needed state at one point in the history of development of human species to serve them, to organize them into a society, to have a kind of a society where there are no problems. And of course the state become, in the course of time, the brutal oppressor itself. The brutal oppression should have, the state is formed by a contract of the people to stop disorder, anarchy, and the state became.
As told earlier in this video, India's police system is still based on the set of laws which were formulated by two commissions set up by the British, one in the 1860 and the other in 1902. After independence, despite many recommendations, successive governments failed to reform the police. K. Subramaniam, a former officer of the Indian Police Service and the IB, once wrote, and I quote, "The point is that the absence of any new thinking on how police should work, India continues to have a coercive police machinery as espoused by the Britishers before independence." Well, a fun fact that Jan Sangh, the precursor to the Bharatiya Janata Party, had made a promise that it would repeal preventive detention laws like the UAPA. But a 2019 amendment by the BJP only strengthened it further. Thus, the point I want to make is that the plight of innocent people languishing in jail is not new. Let's not forget the UAPA was strengthened under the Congress rule when it amended in 2004, 2008 and 2012. P. Chidambaram in fact faces the wrath of observers for turning a blind eye to the inhuman nature of the UAPA. Of course, Amit Shah's amendment is far more stringent than Chidambaram's, as it allows the state to designate an individual as a terrorist, which was not possible before 2019, but the origins of the UAPA continue to haunt the Congress party. The laws and its implications will be discussed, debated, but the real cost of the draconian laws is paid by the innocents who are wrongfully charged. The first decade of 21st century was marked by n number of bomb blasts. One such blast occurred in 2006 in Mumbai on July 11th. This series of bomb blasts in Mumbai's local trains took the lives of 189 people. The Maharashtra ATS and Mumbai Crime Branch give two contrasting theories on how the blast might have been planned. Both the agencies arrested two different set of people. ATS had wrongfully arrested Wahid Sheikh too. In 2006, Wahid was an English teacher in a local government school. He languished in jail for 9 years, faced custodial torture, faced injuries that would last a lifetime, and yet was proven innocent by Mumbai court in 2015. Wahid's life had changed completely after spending 9 years in jail. We end this episode of Spotlight with a small interview of Wahid Sheikh, where he speaks about his changed life. That's it from me in this video. My name is Zeeshan Kaskar and you are watching The Wire.
जब आदमी जेल में चला जाता है तो वो अपने फैमिली मेम्बर से जो अटैचमेंट होता है वो अटैचमेंट उसका ख़त्म हो जाता है। मेरे फादर का डेथ हो गया मेरे अरेस्टिंग के बाद। जो मेरे जो छोटे बच्चे थे जिनके साथ मुझे खेलना चाहिए था, जिनकी मुझे तरबियत करना चाहिए था, वो मैं नहीं कर सका। आज देखिए वो लोग मेरे साथ उनका अटैचमेंट नहीं है उनका इतना, वो बड़े हो गए, उनके माँ के साथ ही अटैचमेंट है। मेरे को एक थोड़ा सा पराया महसूस करते हैं वो। ये 10 साल के बाद आया, ठीक है बाप है लेकिन इतना अटैचमेंट नहीं। जस्टिस के नाम पे मजाक है। जिस दिन मैं अरेस्ट हुआ अगर उसी दिन छोड़ देता तो शायद मैं कहता जस्टिस है।